Hello and welcome. My name is Sharon Bonney, and I'm the Executive Director for the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar, Technology Integration in the Age of WIOA. We're going to give everybody a minute here to get on. We're expecting about 200 participants. So, as a participant on this webinar, you'll receive a CEU for verification. You'll receive a certificate for CEU verification, and you'll receive that within 24 hours. That will come to you directly from the Zoom platform. So just give it 24 hours and it should be in your inbox very shortly. Also, we just want to mention that we deliver 50 plus webinars annually on trending topics. And the whole idea with this is that we're trying to bring the professional development outside the brick and mortar of our national conference. And these webinars are made possible thanks to our special sponsor, which is Burlington English. So I'm going to stop right here and take a minute to turn this over to Robert Breitbart, who's here with us from Burlington English. Robert?
Hi, thanks so much there, Sharon, and I'm going to appreciate. And for those of you who've been able to see our Kimberly in the past, you're in for a real treat. She's doing fantastic work all around the country. And so I will jump in very quickly. Oh, don't you love it when the technology goes in a great way? Here we go. So just to spend just a quick moment, again, thanks to all our friends. And, big cheers to all of the work that COAB's done. They're really doing amazing work, but special work if you've seen the recent COAB e-blast that went out. Special congratulations to Reese and Sharon and Pat Tyler and everyone who was included in there, and all the state people who went to Washington, D.C. on our behalf. Obviously, what our legislators are so interested in, and the reason that WIOA got so much bipartisan support, was for exactly what we at Burlington are 100% developing and designing all of our materials for. So that's career exploration and soft skills. That's our latest course that is out there. True blended learning. What Burlington brings, it's the difference maker, is everything for classroom, everything for whether it's print materials, whether it's projectable lessons for teachers, everything that teachers would need at the touch of a button as they're growing and growing into this WIOA environment, whether it's exploration of careers, planning for that IET and that IELCE that might come in the future, particularly for our ESL, obviously for our ESL learners, but also for that get a job, keep a job right now, those soft skills and everything in between, whether it's the understanding of what career pathway, the concept of career pathways are, career clusters, narrowing down, not just understanding that it might be first and second jobs and further training, career ladders, identifying the job cards, identifying the jobs that they are looking forward to in the future, and then to help in this entire process. How about sitting with a virtual career counselor during the entire time? And that's what Burlington provides. All of this work, all of this that you see here, all put in a digital portfolio, whether for accountability for the program or for obviously work by the student. And then lastly, just to wrap up, anytime, anywhere access. So looking forward to watching Kim. Thanks so much, Sharon, and I'll see you at www.burlingtonenglish.com. Have a great webinar. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Robert. So I'm going to share a few more slides here, and then I'm going to turn this over to our wonderful presenter, Kimberly Glenn. So just real quickly, I also wanted to mention, on top of the CEU verification, we'll also be conducting a Managers Mondays. I hope that you all have seen this. This will cover WIOA basics, NRS, basic adult education structure, integrated education and technology, and how to leverage WIOA Title II funds. We did this at the request of the field. We received a number of requests from administrators asking for this basic information. So this will be over the course of 6 weeks. They'll have 2 in November, 3 in December, and then 1 in January. So keep an eye on your inbox. It's free of charge, and that's thanks to a sponsor as well. Also, we have the 2018 virtual conference coming up at the end of this month, October 25th and 26th. It's only $25 a day, or if your state has signed on, it's free to you. So we're expecting thousands of participants. Actually, this virtual conference has now grown to the size that it's actually bigger than our national face-to-face conference. So, you know, kudos to all the states that have joined already. I believe we have 30 plus states that are on providing passes to everybody there in their state. Also, we have all the resources that will be shared here during this webinar, and all the resources from our virtual conference, our national conference. You can find them all here in the Adult Educators Repository. You can upload, you can download, you can comment, you can connect, you can network. There's just a number of ways to connect on this Adult Educators Repository. So just want to mention that as well. Also, we have some excellent leadership opportunities coming up for Region 2, 4, and 6, as well as our Vice President for Membership. If you're interested in serving at the national level and you feel you have what it takes, we would encourage you to either have someone nominate you, or you can also self-apply. So information is coming out on that very shortly. Also, we have the national awards, the COABE Teacher of the Year, Administrator of the Year, Adult Learner of the Year. These each of them get $10,000 each. We also have the State Innovations, the Workplace of the Year, and a new one, the Advocate of the Year, that get $2,000 each. All of them get their way paid to the conference. All of the successful nominators get their way paid to the conference. We also send out press releases. So this is a great opportunity. I'm sure everybody on this webinar must know somebody that would fit the bill for these excellent, prestigious national level awards. So I just really want to encourage you, when you see that e-blast go out, feel free to nominate somebody. And Robert had mentioned our Educate and Elevate National Public Awareness Campaign helped stave off $87 million of funding cuts and successfully brought in $60 million more. There's been over 86,000 contacts with legislators in the last 18 months. And I just wanted to brag on Pennsylvania, because during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week alone, they had over 1,200 connections with legislators. This is the state of Pennsylvania. We're not talking California, New York, the big ones. We're talking Pennsylvania. And do you want to know how they did it? With their adult learners. So they had just 2 administrators went in and talked to adult learners and encouraged them to get on board and use our Ignite software, which is 3 clicks to contact your legislator. And they had an excellent showing there in the state of Pennsylvania. So I want to mention too that we have this adult learner option, which it's free. Typically it's free or $5, but now we're offering it for free. So if you have adult learners there in your program, they can join COABE for free, and they can access a number of benefits, including being nominated for the Adult Learner of the Year, including life insurance for free, and a number of other benefits. We're almost done here. Also, we have COABE insurance options, which are free, and I encourage you to look those up online. We have our national conference coming up March 31st or April 3rd. If you have not applied for a mini grant, now is the time to do so. $350 off of your registration. So encourage you to go online and fill out a mini grant application. We have 35 strands, and actually Kimberly is going to be participating in our professional development strand. You can see there's just this is just a snapshot. There's a number of national partners we work with to deliver outstanding professional development to our members. We expect over 2,000 attendees this year, so we hope that you'll be there as well. Also, we just recently published our Career Pathways Journal, which has been newly revised, newly branded, and we had over 11,000 downloads. Excellent articles in there on career pathways. So again, free of charge to you. Go online, download that free of charge. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to today's presenter. Her name is Kimberly Glenn, and I'm going to read a little bit about Kimberly to you. So Kimberly Glenn is the Director of Curriculum Development and Training with EDSI, and she's the current chair of the Association for Adult Literacy Professional Developers. Kimberly has over 15 years of experience designing and delivering quality curriculum and instruction in a variety of industries. She's also worked in adult education, K-12, technical skills trades, and higher education. Kim also has extensive experience in workforce development and customized training. She's presented at COABE for the past 6 years on topics such as decoding the Declaration of Independence, leveraging professional development with WIOA partners, lessons on energy, critical thinking, and so much more. Kim lives in New Jersey with her husband and 4 children. Wow, Kim. Welcome, and we look forward to your presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all and to present this topic to you all. I originally presented this actually for the state of Georgia, and then presented it at COABE in the spring, and was really excited to be contacted to present it via this webinar platform. So I was prompted to create this because of the changes in WIOA and the legislation, and I really thought that this would be a great opportunity to relook at the way we integrate technology in our lessons with our students in our classrooms with this new legislation in place. So you got a good bio on me. I don't really need to say much more. I'm currently in New Jersey today, and I was in New York yesterday, and about 2 weeks ago I was in Georgia. So I do get around, but I'm really happy to be local today and here with you all. If you haven't done so, feel free to hop in the chat room, introduce yourselves, where you're coming from. This is an interactive presentation. I'll have some polls that I'll pop up. There'll be a time where I'm gonna encourage us to go to the Q&A. I wanna have some dialogue about a few things. And so please feel free to be as interactive as possible. If you have any questions for me directly, please make sure you put them in the Q&A, so that way we have a record and I can go back and take a look at those and answer those for all of you. So I have some objectives for this webinar today that I'm hoping to accomplish with you all. The first objective is I want to explore WIOA technology standards as a framework to understanding technology integration. I think that sometimes without a framework, we kind of flounder around and we're looking for like that magic wand that's going to help us and direct us in where we go. And sometimes it can feel really overwhelming. So I think that this framework is simple and easy, and it will really help everybody strategically plan for technology in their classrooms. We're also going to really spend some time with digital literacy. I think it's important to understand what digital literacy is, get some really good definitions, and how important digital literacy is when we talk about technology. We're also going to go over some tools, right? We can't talk about technology without sharing tools. And this is definitely one of those moments in the presentation where I am hoping that you all can share the tools that you love every day, because honestly, there's nothing better than sharing what works for you. And I would prefer to first go to what works for someone else than to flounder around there searching for something, and maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. So we definitely want to get some tools on the table, talk about how those tools can be used to enhance your lessons and contribute to student learning. And then lastly, we really want to look at ways to effectively and seamlessly integrate technology and digital literacy into our adult ed lessons. And so there's two words there that I'm going to emphasize, and you'll probably hear them quite a few times throughout my presentation, but it's effectively and seamlessly. So a lot of us might try at various moments to integrate technology, but maybe it was a little cumbersome. Maybe it didn't work. So how do we do it effectively, and how do we do it seamlessly? And so this presentation hopefully will give you a lot of ideas on how to go ahead and do that. So technology has become water. And sometimes when I first say this to people, they're like, what are you talking about? Technology has become water. And so I'm going to play for you a quick audio clip, and I hope you can hear it. And the audio clip is actually part of the opening of a commencement speech by David Foster Wallace. He became pretty famous for this commencement speech. So it's just a very small clip, and I'm going to play that for you now.
Kim, if it's playing, I can't hear it.
Okay, so apparently you can't hear it. So I will just tell you the story instead. So thanks, Sharon, for letting me know that you guys couldn't hear that. But essentially, it's a story, and it says that these two young fish are swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way. And the older fish nods at the two younger fish and he says, "Good morning, boys. How's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit. And then eventually one of them looks over at the other one and says, "What the heck is water?" And I found that to be really interesting and a great analogy for kind of how technology has become like water to us. It's become like water to the fish. It's like the air that we breathe. It is so natural and it's so ingrained in everything that we do that very often we don't even realize how much we are using technology in our everyday lives. And so when we start to think about how technology should feel like the air we breathe, you shouldn't notice that it's this big transition or this big change or this big integration. It shouldn't feel cumbersome. It should feel natural, like a fish swimming in water or like the air that we breathe. And so I want you to think about how you integrate technology. Does it feel like the air that you breathe? Does it just feel like a natural part of what you do? Or does it feel forced? Does it feel cumbersome? And how can we change that? So I want to actually shift how we view technology integration. And usually the question that gets asked to me, I go around and I do coaching all around the country with different educators at all different levels. And they always say to me, "How can I integrate technology in my classroom?" Or "How can I integrate technology into this lesson?" And I always say to them, that's the wrong question to ask. The question I want you to ask is, how does technology naturally complement this lesson? And how do we use technology in real life? And so it's going to be really important for us to take this framework, this lens of how I approach technology integration and really start to think about that from a broader perspective. It shouldn't be, here's the lesson, how do I integrate technology? It should be, how does this lesson naturally embed technology? What ways would we use technology in the real world when engaging with this topic? So as we move forward, we want to keep thinking about that, because if we're forcing something, it doesn't feel like it's natural, and it feels very difficult and challenging and very overwhelming. So this is what I tell everybody. So this is actually my quote. I say this all the time, which is weird to have something that you say come up, but don't force technology into a lesson. Identify how technology is naturally aligned, and then you want to extend your learning to embrace technology in that way. So think about how much technology you use on the job every day. When technology was first being introduced, or when a new technology is being introduced, it might have felt like a really big change. Maybe it was kind of scary and intimidating, but now it seems like second nature. You can't imagine going back to doing it without that piece of technology. We don't even notice it anymore. So we really want to make our classrooms the same way. We really want to make it so it just feels like a part of our everyday. So if technology really is water, then we shouldn't say, oh, this is the lesson that uses technology. We really should be looking at how every lesson naturally uses technology. So the key word here is naturally, and we don't want to force it just because we should. A lot of times I'll have an educator come to me and say, I need to integrate technology in this lesson. And my question is usually, why? And they say, well, because I'm told I have to. And I'm like, but does it naturally fit? How would you use technology in the real world on this? And so I think that when we start to look at technology from that perspective, it becomes a lot easier to integrate it. So what we really want to do is successfully integrate technology, because all of us can probably figure out ways to integrate technology on a really sort of simple level. But what we want to do is successfully integrate it. So what does that look like? It's routine and transparent. It's accessible. So I know a lot of us have limitations in our classrooms and not everything is available to us. So it needs to be accessible. It needs to be readily available when we need it. And sometimes that's not the case. It should be supporting the curricular goals, and it should help the students effectively reach their goals. It should be seamless part of the learning process, and it should really feel like second nature. So I always like to start off with the objectives for my lesson, or the goals for my lesson. So whatever my lesson is on that particular day, I start there. And then I really figure out how technology can help achieve that goal, how it naturally aligns with what it is that we're doing. I really look at it as a means to improve instruction and deepen learning. And when it's at its best, you and the student aren't going to stop and think that they're using technology. It's just going to be something that happens. We do find that students are more actively engaged in projects when technology tools are a seamless part of that learning experience. So I know it says chat room, but I would really like us to go to the Q&A here. And I have these two questions, and I want to get some ideas from everybody, and I'm going to kind of open up that Q&A. But I'm really interested in finding out from everybody how you approach integrating technology now and what tools you use. And I just want to open that up for kind of a few moments to figure out where you guys are at, what you're using, and kind of what you like. Okay, so I love that we're using phones. I know a lot of people are scared by phones because they're a distraction, but if you use them right, they could be a great tool. Computer lab time for listening and reading, excellent. Science websites and online activities. Okay. Some have desktops for their students, which I think is fantastic. Chromebooks in the classroom, they're fantastic as well. Schoology, nice. Kahoots, heard a lot about Kahoots. If you're not familiar, definitely ask Sandy to fill you in. It's quiz, so these are from a quiz. Flip quiz for fun, informal assessments. Mobile apps. I agree, Margaret. I love mobile apps. I'm going to talk about them towards the end of the presentation. Some people have iPads, laptops, cell phones, nice. Like that the cell phones are used. Weebly, excellent for your own website. So that's really great as a communication tool. I find that a lot of teachers that set that up have really great classroom communities. Mini lessons, Google Classroom. I don't know if you guys use Google Classroom, but I particularly love Google Classroom. In Arizona, they did a teacher survey. Some are comfortable using technology and some aren't. The prisons are also a little bit of a challenge, right? There are videos, internet links. Exactly what does technology in the classroom mean? Students use the internet, word processing, PowerPoints, and presentations. Good question. And we're going to get to that in a few moments to really explore what it is that we're talking about. Smart boards, okay. So Franklin May, I will get back to your question shortly, but it looks like, so the last one I'm going to talk about is this pronunciation videos, which are really, really helpful and excellent tools. I love using the pronunciation tools that are available, particularly with ESL students. I find that to be really helpful every now and again. So thanks for participating in that Q&A. You can keep that running so that way we have a really nice long running list. And if you are looking for me to answer a question specifically, if you could just put like the @ symbol and Kim, and I will make sure that I circle back and give you an answer. That way I know that you really want me to take a look at that. So let's talk about why we should integrate technology, because I think that we all just think we should, but there are some really legit reasons why we should integrate technology. So technology really does amplify and extend our instructional strategies. It provides opportunities for repeated practice and feedback. I know one of the things that I'm constantly looking to do is find a way to make repetition and practice more interesting and feel less monotonous. I feel that the integration of technology does that for me and offers me a lot of different opportunities to kind of do some drill and practice in a way that doesn't feel repetitive. It really also develops those 21st century workplace skills. It's pretty obvious that you need technology in everything that we do nowadays. I mean, you can apply for a home loan on an app now on your phone. We order food on apps on our phones. We pay bills. We can cash checks. It's amazing what we can do using technology. So it's really pertinent, and people need to understand how to fully use it and engage in it responsibly as adults as we move forward. It has extreme relevance today. And so learning via technology, kind of, especially for younger students, they're familiar, they're immersed, they've been a part of it, but it really can bring real life experiences to the classroom. And it takes learning into kind of a relevant experience, because people are engaged in technology. People are on social media. People go to Google to look for things all the time. So bringing teaching and learning there really does create a sense of relevance to what it is that we're doing. And then ultimately, it supports the diverse needs of our learners. There's a lot of differentiation options that exist. If we're talking about accommodations, technology really does offer a wide variety of ways. I mean, we can have some students listening. We could have some students watching videos. We could have some students reading. It's so many different opportunities are available to us for differentiation to make sure our students are completely and totally supported. So we know that it's important, right? There's some really critical things that help us understand why it's important. So let's talk about a framework. And I want to now talk about WIOA. So we have WIOA and technology standards, and we all know WIOA. I mean, you've heard it for long enough now, but it really does sort of support and encourage the use of technology for improvement of both teaching and learning in the adult ed classroom. So it does have this really big emphasis on workforce preparation activities. So this is everything that we do with WIOA really needs to be designed to help an individual acquire a combination of those basic academic skills, those critical thinking skills, digital literacy skills, self-management skills, including things like utilizing resources and information, working with others, understanding systems, obtaining necessary skills for transition into either that post-secondary or employment. So I think that it's something that just naturally matches. And if we're supposed to be better preparing our students for post-secondary or the workplace, making sure that they have digital literacy skills and great technology competencies is really important. So essentially, there's 5 areas that I like to use as the framework. So when I work with educators, lesson planning, we really talk about these 5 areas and whether or not we are integrating technology that helps build competence in these areas. So finding information, evaluating, organizing, creating, and communicating. And we're going to explore these in a lot greater detail in the next few slides. But think about it. Are you using technology to find and locate information with students? Are you using technology to help them learn how to evaluate things, right? What happens with that? What does that look like? Organize information, create, author content, and then share and communicate that. So I have a quick poll, and Sharon's going to pull up that poll for me. And that poll here is going to ask you, out of these 5 areas, kind of which one you think you need to work on more. So where are you spending the least amount of time? We might be using it to find and maybe create content, but out of these 5 areas, which one of these are you spending the least amount of time incorporating from a technology standpoint? So if you can take a look at that and fill out the poll, we can kind of get a feel for where we're spending the least amount of time collectively. Sharon, I'm not sure if there's a way that I can see those results.
Yes, so we have 102 have voted so far. Would you like me to end the polling now, or do you want to give just a couple more minutes?
Yeah, we'll give another like 10, 20 seconds. If you haven't voted, we'd love to hear from you, just so we can kind of see exactly where people need some additional guidance and assistance in figuring out how to integrate in that area.
Great. Okay, it looks like it stopped, so I'm going to release the polls. Can you see that?
Yes, we can. Excellent. As we expected, we're looking at most people are spending the least amount of time using technology in an evaluative format. So we do have the most being creating, which makes sense, right? We are either using Microsoft Word or some type of word processing program, maybe even authoring into blogs. Maybe some of you are being really creative and doing like podcasts and things of that nature. But it just kind of goes to show you how well-rounded we need to be preparing our students when it comes to sort of that technology integration. So thank you for participating in that poll. And let's talk a little bit more about this and what all of this means. So we really want to build digital literacy. And when we talk about those 5 things, right, we're really talking about holistically having digital literacy. And digital literacy is more than just computer literacy. And that's one of the first things that I think, if you're not familiar with the concept of digital literacy, is the most confusing and complex. Digital literacy is distinct from computer literacy. Computer literacy really refers to the knowledge and skills in using traditional computers like PCs and laptops. And it focuses on practical skills and using software application and packages. Now, digital skills is more of a temporary term, and it's limited to the practical abilities in using digital devices. And this includes beyond computers, right? This goes into kind of laptops and tablets and smartphones and kind of going a little bit further. So digital literacy marries kind of these 2 terms of digital and literacy. And it really refers to the ability to read for knowledge, to write coherently, and to think critically about written word. So a digital literate individual will possess a range of digital skills, knowledge of the basic principles of computing devices, and then skills in using computer networks. So the individual who has those digital literacy skills really has the ability to engage in online communities and social networks while adhering to behavioral protocols. So what can they do? They can find, capture, and evaluate information. Digital literacy really requires an individual to understand societal issues raised by digital technologies and possess critical thinking skills while using them. So the evolution of digital media in and of itself has quickly integrated into this quite complex concept of literacy. So digital literacy, I really like to break it down a little bit because it seemed when I first really dug into this, it was a little overwhelming, and the people I worked with were a little overwhelmed. So the definition, we're going to break it down into some chunks to help you kind of. Of literacy means to be able to read and write, but to be successful in today's digital. What it means to be digitally literate has reflected the change in how information, how it's received in today's world. So reading, writing are still at the heart of it, but there's a much broader range of skills. So digital literacy has expanded to not only include reading and writing, but also speaking and listening, and also viewing, creating, and sharing using media. So we're doing all of this in our daily lives. Think about, do you read anything using technology? Do you write anything using technology? We're speaking right now using technology. You're listening to me using technology. You're viewing, creating, and sharing information using media. And so it's really somebody to be able to an event like this. Can you log in? Can you navigate exchange in professional and respectful dialogue as we move through this? And so there's a lot of elements within that in which we can try to embed into our classrooms. So I have those 3 buckets. I call them buckets, but they're 3 little buckets. I just want to talk a little bit about each of them to give you a little bit more context. So when we talk about finding and consuming digital content, we have things like what we call offline reading. So it's the same as if I was reading like a book or a newspaper, right? Of a newspaper or a magazine, it's static, right? It's not interactive. It's just one screen, and you just have to read it. Now, online reading is digital text that's read through the internet, and it contains hyperlinks or videos or audio clips embedded, images, interactive graphics, share buttons, comment sections. Now, this requires a lot of additional skills. So by having our students read like a blog online with links and videos embedded in it, we require them to make decisions and interact with the text rather than simply reading from top to bottom. It's designed that no 2 readers have the same experience. So I might see something and not understand it and want to click on a link or investigate that topic more, or maybe that video interests me, but it doesn't interest you. So we can read and engage in the same text, but have a different experience as we navigate through it. So the reader decides when to click on those videos or hyperlinks, how long to stray away from the initial text, and whether or not they think the information is worth passing on to somebody else. So it requires different skills than just reading straightforward print text. So a big part of that digital literacy is learning to search for content in an online space. Using a search engine and keyboards to navigate our results and find and select the most appropriate ones as reliable. Different authors and websites as whether or not they are reliable is a really important part as well. So when it comes to creating digital content, this includes writing in digital formats such as emails, blogs, tweets, etc. We can create other forms of media as well, such as videos or podcasts. Digital authorship is a form of social power. And so really preparing our students for digital literacy and creating digital content is a really great form of empowerment for students. So we want to create content. It's creative and collaborative process that involves experimentation and risk-taking. And in general, digital writing is meant to be shared. And that's kind of the point of it for the most part. There are exceptions to that, but I think that's an important kind of thing to note. Now, when we talk about finally deciding to communicate and share information, right? Traditional writing can often be personal. Think of journals or diaries, where digital writing, they make digital writing, so it's easy to share for the most part, right? Like it's easy to pass this information on. So today, digital-based tools are social, they're participatory, they're collaborative, they're easy to use, and they really help facilitate these online learning communities. So digital writing is powerful, allows students to actively participate in a variety of different ways. It creates vibrant and informed and engaged communities. And so even if that community is just your classroom, communicating and sharing information within the digital world allows that powerful sort of community to be developed. So this is why part of digital literacy is this concept of digital citizenship. And that really gets into appropriate behavior and sort of how do we handle ourselves in a world of technology. So how comfortable are you with technology and digital literacy? And I believe, do we have a poll for this? Yes, we do have a poll for this again. How comfortable are you? And so I want you to take a look at this scale of 1 to 5. So 1, we have, I am not comfortable at all with technology and the concept of digital literacy. 2 being, I'm uncomfortable. 3 being somewhat comfortable, 4 being comfortable, and 5 being very comfortable. So you can gauge it off the smiley face you see, or think about 1 being very uncomfortable to 5 being very comfortable. Where are you at in the spectrum of technology and digital literacy comfort? All right, I hope you guys voted, because Sharon, well, let's close this poll and let's see what our results were. All right, so 45% of you ranked yourself as 4, which is comfortable with technology, and I think that that's wonderful. We have some people that may be a little bit less comfortable, and a handful of us that are extremely comfortable, and I think that that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think we need to really rethink our role and encourage students, especially those that are more tech savvy, to solve problems using technology, to develop creative solutions that we didn't think of, encourage them to think using all of the tools that they have available to them. The whole idea is not about the choice whether we use technology or not use technology, because we're going to use technology. We use it every day, right? The challenge is to use it right, and to use it in a way that's natural and organic and seamless. So we really want to promote that digital literacy and that digital citizenship as we move forward. But I think it's important for us as educators to make sure that we're comfortable and we can model those skills for our students and show them that it's not scary and it's easy. And when something doesn't work, we don't get flustered because there's a backup plan. And I think the modeling of digital literacy and digital comfort will help our students feel more comfortable when we engage with it in the classroom. So thank you all for participating in that poll. And let's move on into some tips, because I know that's what y'all are probably waiting for, are some nice tips. So I have this quote here, and I just really liked it, so I want to share it with you. Effective integration of technology is achieved when students are able to select technology tools to help them obtain information in a timely manner, analyze and synthesize information, and present it professionally. The technology should become an integral part of how the classroom functions, as accessible as all other classroom tools. So I kind of like that end piece, all as accessible as all other classroom tools. And I say to myself, is technology as accessible as a pen and paper to my students, as a chalkboard or a whiteboard? Is it as accessible to them? And if it's not, how can I make it more accessible to them? And I think that that's something that when I started to look at that question in that way, I was like, am I making it like the air that they're breathing, like the water they swim in, right? Like, how can I do that for them with technology? So we want to look for those opportunities to organically build technology skills when working on our curricular goals in a way, using those real life problems, those real life scenarios. So you want to consider a few things: how to encourage ways of thinking when using technology. So creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, learning, all that kind of stuff. Practice ways of working with people. So this includes communication and collaboration. And practice skills for living in the real world. So citizenship, things that happen in your life and your career, personal and social responsibility. And so these are some things that I try to always integrate and naturally embed into things. So willingness to embrace change is also a major requirement for successful technology integration. Technology changes all the time. As soon as I become comfortable with something, someone introduces this new app or tool or website that's like the bee's knees, and I'm like, man, I just got comfortable with this. I got to go learn something else. That's okay. That's going to happen faster and faster and faster as technology moves on. Some things work, and then eventually you're going to find something that works better. And so I think being open to that is really important. So what does effective technology integration in the classroom really look like? So when effectively integrated into the curriculum, technology tools can extend learning in really powerful ways. So they allow you and your students sort of access to up-to-date primary source information, which I really like having at the tip of my fingertips, those primary source documents and being able to pull those up on the spot. That's a really great resource. They give us really great methods of collecting and recording data. So this is something that I think sometimes doesn't get utilized as much as it could. And in the world of work, this is actually really important. So I think that there are some wonderful ways that we can use technology for collecting and recording data. Ways to collaborate with students, teachers, and experts around the world. I love when I have a class and then we like Skype or FaceTime with somebody that like does that job. I do a lot of programs with IETs and career pathways. And I love when we get to like FaceTime with somebody that's like a construction worker on the job site doing that job. And the students are talking with him and interacting with him. And we're able to do that where like maybe that guy couldn't leave his job site that day to come be a guest speaker. But we were able to see the job site. We were able to like virtually go there. There's some really neat ways to collaborate all together and do that in addition to classroom websites or Google Classroom and things of that nature. There are opportunities with technology for expressing and understanding sort of via multimedia, and that's a really great outlet for a lot of our students that I think that we need to spend some more time exploring. Definitely technology tools allow for learning that's relevant and assessments that are authentic. How many of us have been sent a survey in email about how we think about something and we're clicking on these buttons and we're assessing things? How many of us, when we want to learn something, like we Google it and then we read a quick tutorial on it or we watch a YouTube tutorial on it? Learning happens using technology nowadays. It's very rare for us to go to a book store and grab a book on like how to build cabinets and come home and do it. We're like watching YouTube videos on it where we're watching experts do it. And so keeping learning using technology is relevant and it keeps it incredibly authentic for our learners. And then it gives our students an opportunity to receive training for how to publish and present their new knowledge to others. And very often, this is an area that I find a lot of students struggle with, especially as we transition them either into higher level skills training or the workplace, is really like expressing themselves and publishing their ideas in a way that's presentable professionally. So I think that it gives some really great opportunities. So the added value of technology here is that educational activities can be enriched and extended with technology in ways that were kind of impossible before. So learners can use wikis or collaborative tools like Google Docs when writing essays. They can edit each other's work, right? Like I can write, we can do peer critiques and edits. Maybe we could only do that in the classroom before with a paper copy. But now we can do it digitally and we don't have to be stuck in the classroom to do it. And that's a beautiful thing. The class can publish a school newsletter using a blog or some type of other online tool. We can develop budgets for like a class picnic or a hypothetical business. There are some really interesting things that maybe were not possible before that we can do now that we have technology. So really, the approach that I like to encourage everyone to take is one that is seamless and transparent. And so we really want to make sure our goals and outcomes of instruction remain kind of those academic goals, right? We want to improve our literacy, our numeracy skills. We want to progress towards obtaining that high school equivalency or getting to a targeting functioning level. But really, we want to use technology as a way to help us get there, right? So we want to kind of use technology by teachers and learners kind of in these everyday environments and contexts. And so we're going to get into this in just a moment in more, but like if I'm going to kind of do my bills at home, what technology do I naturally use at home when I am doing budgets and averages? Those are the types of tools we want to be integrating with our students when we teach those concepts, because that makes it really realistic and authentic. So an example that I just want to share with you guys is, let's just say we're exploring like a concept on like manifest destiny, right? And shaping American culture. Maybe our lesson is on that. And as you approach kind of each question or topic or problem from the lesson, maybe you would think about how you would approach it using all the tools available to you. So you might consider presenting topics as questions to your students or problems that need to be solved, and then allow the students to consider ways they would approach that in the real world. So you could explicitly brainstorm tools, technology tools and resources that are available to them and how they could use them to best find the information that they're looking for. So it's a way for us to take our regular instruction on no matter what topic it is and turn it into a way that mimics how they use technology in the real world and really builds those skills nicely. So I have some examples, and this is where I want you guys to hop back into that Q&A room and give some examples of real world sort of technology integration. So as I'm talking, feel free to hop in that Q&A. So for geography, think about it. If I'm going to go on a trip, right, and I'm going to go to a new state, or what technology would I use, right? So I might use like a map or directions app to map my way there, to see what my path should be, to see how long it will take me to get there, to see what states I go through on my way there, what type of terrain exists while I'm there, right? I might just generally Google, right? I might just Google things to find out information about where I'm going. But also maybe I'm using weather apps or weather.com sites, so that way I can learn about the climate of where I'm going, so that way I can pack appropriately. So that's an example of like geography and how you might make that connection. And there's a million more. So please add these into the Q&A as we move forward. For math, I mean, I use the calculator on my phone constantly, but I also use Excel for budgeting. And so there's a million different ways with household bills or planning to save for a vacation, things that we could do. What do you use? For ESL, so think about it. Let's just say you were going to go on vacation, or you were going to move and now live in a foreign country. What type of technology might you use? Well, maybe you use a translator app. Maybe you use voice notes as a way to kind of record and have it saved so you can play it back when you go around. In science, I mean, most of the time when I'm looking for science stuff, it's to help my kids with their science homework. I'm not going to lie. That's the primary thing nowadays. But there's been plenty of times where I've done research for other things. But Mythbusters and videos online really help understand science nicely, as well as like Science Dictionary is a great resource, or just Googling in general. Maybe you want to see how your chemicals are going to react if you combine two of them to do some heavy-duty cleaning in your house. And then ELA, I mean, very simply, authoring in MS Word, reading ebooks, interactive ebooks that allow you to look up information. Think about it. You have to write letters in the real world, right? We might have to write letters. We might have to send emails to people, introducing ourselves, asking for information, filing a complaint. Maybe we're reading self-help books. So there are a lot of different examples, and I hope you guys are adding your examples into the Q&A. I would really like to be able to compile those and make sure that we have a really nice comprehensive list for you all. So these are the natural alignments, right? Like these are the things that when we're teaching certain subjects or certain topics, we think about naturally, how does this work in our real life? How does this work in our real world? How am I using these skills and these tools in my real world? So let's talk specifically now about those technology tools, right? So I have another poll, and the poll asks about your current level of technology integration. So not how comfortable you are, which was a previous poll. This poll specifically asks you about your current level of technology integration. So Sharon, if you want to go ahead and pull that up, I have 4 levels in which we're asking you to read those statements and kind of figure out where you're at. So sparse technology integration means that technology is rarely used or available. The students rarely use technology to complete assignments or projects. Basic technology integration means that technology is used or available occasionally or often in a lab rather than in the classroom. Students are comfortable with one or two tools and sometimes use these tools to create projects that show an understanding of content. The next level is comfortable. Technology is used in the classroom on a fairly regular basis. Students are comfortable with a variety of tools and often use these tools to create projects that show understanding of content. And then seamless. Students employ technology daily in the classroom using a variety of tools to complete assignments and create projects that show a deep understanding of content. So take a look at that and really honestly assess where you're at. And sometimes there are restrictions. Sometimes you don't have all the technology available to you that you would want. So take a look at these, and I want to give you guys another few minutes or a few seconds to read through them and to assess yourself. Where are you at with actually integrating technology? All right, Sharon, let's see what our answers are to this one. Okay, so we have a good number of us are at basic. So we are doing it occasionally, often in a computer lab, sometimes, right? And then there's a good chunk of us that are comfortable using technology on a fairly regular basis. And so what this tells us is kind of where we're at, and it's just a baseline, and it just gives us something to think about where we could go, what the next level of technology integration can look like for us, and it gives you some sort of food for thought about where you can go next. So thank you for participating in that. I want to now talk about different types of technology integration because I think it's important to know what's available to you so you can start to think about what you're doing and what you're not doing. So we have online learning and blended classrooms. So those blended classrooms explore a combination of online and face-to-face education. So if you are traditionally in a classroom with your students, consider adding elements of distance learning involved. And then if students have trouble accessing internet or they don't have computers at home, there are a number of apps and resources that can be used, and we're going to share those in a moment with you, and I hope you guys can share those with each other. But consider extending to sort of this blended classroom helps a lot. So project-based activities that incorporate technology. So we can really infuse sort of rigorous projects with technology from start to finish, from finding information to analyzing and organizing the information to synthesizing content and then presenting the information. So if you're going to teach on a unit of instruction or a particular topic, we can really use technology from start to finish to do more project-based learning in that situation. There's game-based learning and assessment, which is kind of interesting and is a little bit more advanced, but it allows a really unique opportunities to incorporate things like simulations and game-based learning activities into classroom instruction. So if you are kind of a little bit on the higher end with some things, that's great. Game-based sort of stuff is really cool. If you're just getting started, maybe just a simulation in some way, shape, or form would be where you would want to start. I find there's some really great opportunities in science with this for simulations, like simulating an experiment, those types of things. Learning with mobile and handheld devices. A bunch of you said that you do this already. So often, people are like, no cell phones in my class. They're a distraction. But we're really moving beyond that. So cell phones and tablets are now being used as learning tools. And those educators who are embracing that opportunity are having less issues with cell phones as a distraction in their classroom. So they keep students engaged, and they help broaden the way in which they use and think about the capabilities of their handheld device. So what I've noticed is when we start to use the cell phones or the tablets as a way to research information, as a way to record information, to author content, as a way to distribute content, it's no longer just a texting and phone calling and social media device for them. It becomes a tool to help them organize their life. We pull up the calendar features. We're doing time management within the cell phone. And so it becomes a really great opportunity to work on that. You can do web-based projects, explorations, and research, so digital tools to conduct online research. Virtual field trips are really cool if you haven't done those. I love to do those virtual field trips. You can do web quests, and if you're not familiar, you should Google that and find out, because web quests are fun too. You can also create student-centered media, such as podcasts, videos, slideshows. My students love putting together either a Google Slides presentation or a PowerPoint. Some of them opt to do a video using iMovie on their iPhone instead, which I think is really cool, that will capture sort of the learning that they did. So there's some really great opportunities for our students to become creators as well as critics of what they read, not just consumers of the digital content. And then there's collaborative online tools such as wikis and Google Docs. Connecting with others is really powerful. And when we allow students and teachers to kind of connect and students to connect, it's really good. So it's crucial to look for opportunities that encourage students to use collaborative online tools to build communication and those collaboration skills. Being able to communicate with another person effectively and respectfully online is a skill that we need to be helping our students build. So we have some Google tools that I just want to make you aware of. So man, Google's been around, right? It was first registered as a domain name in 1997. I actually thought it was around before that, but apparently it was 1997. And really, it's been like the number one. You don't like use a search engine. Everyone says, oh, Google it. So it's definitely become sort of ingrained with us. But they have an ever-growing list of resources that help make our students and our lives easier. And so there's a lot of things that we can do. So for finding and consuming digital content, so we have search engines, we have Translate, Image, Earth, News, Books, Scholar, and Alerts, and all of these things are really great for that. If you want to create digital content, there's a calendar within Google, there's Picasa for pictures, and then you have within Google Drive, Docs, right, our word processing, Sheets is like our Excel, and Slides, which is like our PowerPoint and presentation media. And then for communicating and sharing information, you have Blogger, Plus, Hangouts, Forms, Classroom, and Duo. If you're fortunate enough to have your program have Google Classroom, what I find is it becomes really easy and seamless to begin to integrate the full suite of Google tools that are available. So these tools are all available online. If you have access to a laptop or a computer in any way, shape, or form with internet, you can access all those tools. If you would like to explore the land of Google Apps, that's also fun as well. So we have lots of different Google apps that exist. So Google Classroom has its own app, which is great. Students can access the information right there. They can access Drive. They can access their documents. I mean, it's really quite a fantastic resource. So I want to share with you some examples of what you can do in using this. So let's just talk about Google Docs within Google Drive. So maybe you're struggling and you're like, I'm not really sure exactly how to begin. Well, maybe, oh, Sharon, are we running out of time?
That's okay. I mean, how far along are you?
I have like 4 more slides.
4 more slides. Okay.
Yep. All right.
Finish up.
I'll be fast. Share with the document with students or colleagues. If at an intermediate level, analyze the revision history of a document, which is good. You can create a chart from a data set. In Google Forms, create a form, change the template, graph the results at an intermediate level, or create formulas at a more advanced level. Use your smartphones, the recorder video components, social media pronunciation tools, measuring tools. Apps such as PhotoMath are great. They help students check math step-by-step process. Some more apps I want to share with you. Quizlet is great. It gives a quizzing, a way to kind of quiz and do vocab. Socratic is a math and homework help app. Khan Academy, you all should know Khan Academy for videos. Desmos is a graphing calculator. Remind is a communication app. You obviously have your Encyclopedia Britannica and all your iPhone apps. If you're not familiar with the pedagogy wheel, I highly recommend you take a look at it. It gives me a lot of information when I'm looking to try new technology, depending on what it is I want my students to accomplish for that lesson. So take a look at the pedagogy wheel, and ultimately remember there are some things that you need to take into consideration when using technology. What do you have available? If it's not available, what additional resources exist? What does your internet access look like and your bandwidth, as well as the security considerations for your school? We have some conclusion thing, focus on building digital literacy. It empowers your learners to take responsibility. It offers opportunities to critically think, ask questions. Information has a profound impact on the world around us. And so this information age is really important as we continue to grow adult education. And it's easier to consider, or it's easier to create environments in which students can learn by doing, active learning, receiving feedback, and continually refining their understanding to build new knowledge. So that was the speed version of the last 4 slides.
You did fantastic, Kimberly. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I see a lot of people asking for your PowerPoint, so I just want to let everybody know, yes, the PowerPoint will go out with the Zoom e-blast that will go out very shortly. Also, I just want to mention that one of our participants, Mary Jones, says that she uses Google Docs in the classroom to teach how to write a business letter to her senators for funding for adult education literacy programs. So exciting there. And then we have another one who writes about how they use Google to then, and also then use specialized software, which is from a competitor. So I won't mention the competitor's name, but they go and buy software that also works with the technology that you've discussed here. So thank you so much for everything, Kimberly. You did a fantastic job, and thank you to our hundreds of participants. We really appreciate you tuning in. So we'll see you on our next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye everybody. Thank you.